Hey guys, my hair's really fluffy because I just got out of the shower. I'm actually gonna put my hat on instead. But this is a review of Cheerilee's Garden. I actually recorded one a while ago. I went back and watched it and I realized I'd screwed up so many things. For example, mixing up Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. I completely didn't make any sense because I recorded it at 3 in the morning, so I was talking and it didn't make any sense, as I said. So I'm doing it now. It's 2 in the afternoon, so I should be a little bit more here and be able to talk to you guys properly. So if you guys want my personal opinion whether you should read it or not, I would suggest if you don't have a very weak stomach, you shouldn't read it. Everyone else should. It's just fantastic. It's awesome. I have not been this excited about a story in a while, and it's very close to Saw, but a little less so because you're not actually seeing the gore. So even if you couldn't stomach Saw, you might be able to stomach this. So I suggest read it. Link down below as always. And here we go with the review. Now, Side PK did his rendition well, not his rendition, his review of the fanfic, and for some reason he apologized to me. I have no idea why. Side PK, you did a very good job, man. And I actually like it when you and I review the same story because you and I view stories in a very similar yet different way. We both enjoy the grimdark aspect of stories. That is clear to say from the way we see these stories. You view stories from focusing on the grimdark aspect of it, the stuff that you can see, the stuff that the author leaves out that irk you, and the things that the author puts in that delight you. And that is a very good thing because I personally can't do that as well as I would like. I can't look at a story and be like, yeah, the grimdark here was good because of this, and this. But when I read a story, I look at it from a psychological standpoint. So in that sense, we kind of complement each other in that way. So you'll forgive me if I'm trotting on your heels at all by doing this review. I know I did suggest it to you, and I know your friend, as you said in your video, suggested to you before I did. But like I said, there's no need to apologize just because your review is a bit different from mine. Because like I said, I think that your reviews are good, and that your style, if anything, complements mine in its own way. So Cheerilee's Garden is a very well-written grimdark. It's duking it out right now with Rainbow Factory for my top spot, my top favorite grimdark, and it's winning based solely on well, it's standing out based solely on the fact that it's so long. 7,000 words for 3 chapters is, what was it? Was it 70,000 or 700,000? I'm sorry, I need to check this out right now because I don't want to give you guys false information here. I think it's, yeah, almost 70,000 words for a 3-chapter story. Now, we're going to do the usual thing. I'm going to talk about the plot, the setting, the characters, implicit and explicit. So we'll start with the plot because that'll help me develop characters and be able to explain characters better to you. So the plot is that Cheerilee is teaching a very bad class, and she's used to teaching good classes all throughout her life, and she's teaching this bad class, and the classes consist of the Cutie Crusaders, Silver Spoon, Diamond Tiara, and Sips and Snails, and they're always talking and they're not paying attention to her. And for the beginning of the story, you can see she slowly kind of descends into like this depressed madness sort of thing, where she starts lashing out in anger in animate objects, and she's frustrated and she can't deal with this sort of thing. And it's really early in the story, but if you look at it and you look back on it, it hints at a psychosis problem that she might have. But as the story goes on, the reason the garden is mentioned is because there is her garden at her house is full of weeds, and that's when she kind of clicks into this whole mindset that her garden is like her teaching career, full of flowers that have blossomed into well-educated colts and fillies and all these people, and the weeds are like this class, and the class this class is choking her teaching career into nothingness and just kind of choking the life out of it until it's just until it's not beautiful anymore. It's just disturbing. And Cheerilee sees this and she kind of goes, well, I have to fix it. I have to weed my garden. So she sets about killing all of the foals in her class. Now, the way she does this is that during a play that they put on, whenever a character in the play would die and they would fall through a trapdoor or whatever, she would have a very saw-like trap waiting for them. Now, the intricacy of these traps kind of made me stop for a second, but we'll get into that later because we're still talking about the plot. And she ends up killing every single one of them. And then there was and then she lit a fire, and the whole theater burnt down. And the main six were there, and Rarity and Rainbow Dash and Applejack were all trying to get their respective sisters out, or adoptive sister, I guess in Rainbow Dash's case, out, but they didn't get a chance to. And Cheerilee is seen as the only survivor. She's a victim. And then the next two chapters are actually the main six. Twist doesn't believe that Cheerilee had absolutely nothing to do with it. She kind of creeps her out a little bit. And she looked through the wreckage of the theater, and she found a plank with blood on it. And she brought it to Twilight. And then Twist is captured and tortured and killed by Cheerilee. And Twilight finds it suspicious, so she goes after Cheerilee. And Cheerilee takes them to this dungeon torture-esque place. It's full of twists and turns and secret passages, one of those places. And she kills all of the main six and Spike. Spike is there. Spike is there. He dies too. And all of the main six die. But the spirits of the elements of harmony come back, and they bring Twilight back to life so she can kill Cheerilee. And Twilight goes into town. She meets Cheerilee, and they have like a final standoff where Twilight basically just explodes. Cheerilee just explodes in the middle of town. And I thought it was kind of funny. But back on topic, we talk about so Cheerilee explodes, and Twilight is then charged with murder. And then she's charged with murdering everyone. Her friends, the fillies and foals, Cheerilee, all of them. They're all her fault. And she is given a death sentence or something similar along lines. And then Celestia frees her. And Twilight is like, oh, Princess Celestia, you believe me, right? You believe that I didn't do any of this. You believe me that it was all Cheerilee. And Celestia is like, no, don't worry about it. Whatever wrong you did, it doesn't matter. You're still my most trusted student, and I'll forgive you for it. And that's when Twilight realizes that even her mentor doesn't believe her, and she has nothing left. And she kills herself by throwing her off the wall or the castle or whatever they are. I'm sorry, I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. It's a long story, and there's a lot of small details that I can't really remember. But she throws herself off, and Celestia tries to go after her. And as Celestia and Twilight's eyes meet for like the last time before Twilight smashes into the pavement, Celestia realizes that she's telling the truth. Like, just by looking into her eyes, she realizes that she has no reason to lie. Why would she lie? She's telling the truth, that it was all Cheerilee. And it ends with Celestia saying that everyone who caused her most faithful student's death is going to pay. And it kind of hints at a cycle that will be repeated, where Celestia will become the new Cheerilee. Sorry, my glasses are messy or dirty. So that's the plot. As you can tell, it's very in-depth. There's a lot of... I just touched on it, really, because I don't want this video to take too long. It probably will be over maybe half an hour if I separate it right. But it's very in-depth. The plotline isn't linear in any way. Well, it is linear because it's a story, but I mean, it's not like point A, point B. There's a lot of branching kind of things that you can look at and understand, and it's not like torture, kill, torture, kill. There's some whole bunch of other things into it. There's so many subplots and kind of things you can look into, and I think that's fantastic. I don't have any gripes with the plot. I don't think it could have been improved in any way for this story. So we'll move on to Setting. Now the settings are varied. There's the okay, so there's I'm trying to think of places that aren't told like in the show because there's Twilight's library is in it and the schoolhouse is in it, but there's also the theater, all the places where the tortures take place in the theater, and the trap dungeon area. And I have gripes with these sceneries for the sole purpose is that they aren't very memorable. Like I can't remember what the theater really looks like. I can't remember what the trap dungeon looks like. The only thing that sticks in my mind is the traps and the intricacy of it. I remember all the traps almost off by heart. I remember how each character died off by heart because it was well described. But the setting itself wasn't as well described. It doesn't stick with me, and I prefer it if the setting sticks with me, so I can picture it as I'm going through the story. Now, the one place where this does work actually though is the trap dungeon. Now, if I can't, the trap dungeon is this place that's new to the main six. They've never ever been there, and it kind of adds the feeling of a fear that they would feel as they go through this place and they're chasing after a mare who must know this place like the back of her hoof, and there's traps everywhere and it's scary and they don't know what's going on and they're not really focusing on things, but they're trying to see the traps and all that stuff. So it kind of works in that sense because you're seeing it kind of like they would. Not very much detail on the walls, not caring about the walls, but the things that are important they pay attention to. That's about it for the setting. Like I said, my gripe is that it doesn't stick with me, but that's forgivable.